just a masseuse, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, how do you think, because of course, I work with people who've gone through a breakup and heartbreak and stuff like that. How would your experience translate to a person who has suffered a breakup? Like, what do you feel they could get from what I do?
Well, that's a deep one. Well, going just to continue to use that first experience as an example, and it's interesting because at that time I was in a relationship that was not good for me, and I couldn't see it at that time, But anyways, I was having that pain because I was not honoring myself by making choices that were ultimately good for me, And a lot of times we are thinking of what's good for us as, meeting our responsibilities, but that's not the totality of who we are.
Right.
So often we are looking at ourselves as a compilation of all the things we have to do. Right?
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah, and through the lens of who am I in relation to who else is in my life, and that is depending on me or who I'm in relationship with or whatever the case may be, rather than first and foremost looking at what is good for me, what is going to allow me to do the things that I need to do in my life from a good place, help me to bring good energy to whatever I'm doing, and if I'm not making decisions based on what I know that I need, because another thing I learned from and just really start reflecting on from that first experience with you is that I truly am a creative, and that's a huge part of my identity.
That's critical.
And as a creative, if I don't make space in my life for creativity, then I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be stressed out, right? And I'm not even going to be myself, right? So, and just because for my work as a hairstylist, just because that's what I do for a living, it doesn't automatically mean that I am using my creativity. Because if you allow yourself, even as a creative, to just become like a short order cook, and they come in and tell you what they want, then you're not getting the opportunity to be creative. When you're being creative, the ideas come from you, right? So I learned right then that I need to always have a place in my life for my creativity, because if not, I'm going to be holding stress in my body, which manifests as pain. And then my whole, the energy I'm bringing to my life is not good. It's not right. It's not balanced,
True.
And it's difficult to, if you're not prioritizing yourself, are you making decisions that are going to be good for yourself? And sometimes, that's something that we take for granted, that, of course, we're making decisions that are good for us. That's not always the case.
Yeah, because just like what you said, if you aren't intentionally prioritizing yourself, how do you know those decisions are really for you?
Exactly.
Or you judging it based on who you're in a romantic relationship with, or the boss, or your mom, or whoever it is.
Exactly. And if you're already in that space in your life, and that's the energy that you're bringing to things you do, and at the time that you enter a relationship, that energy is going to draw a person that is also not going to prioritize you, because you are not prioritizing yourself, right?
That's
so the energy
crazy,
you put out is the energy you're drawing to yourself. Everybody's familiar now with The Secret, and that kind of shed more light on the fact that, our energy is like a magnet. So if what you're putting out is I'm not important, then the person that's drawn to you at that time is not going to see
the same thing.
Exactly. They're picking up that message that you're not important. So you're more likely to draw someone that's not going to prioritize you. So you're going to end up in a relationship that's not even about what's good for you. You know, if you're already prioritizing everything around you and everyone around you and your responsibilities over what literally makes you happy and brings you peace, how can you possibly draw a person that is going to, you know, be on that same wavelength that's about bringing peace, you know, and balance to your life? It's not going to happen.
It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, and that's, you know, maybe that may be a long way around, you know, a long story to get around to it, but that's the truth. That's how the pieces fall in place, and you're going to end up in grief, either in that relationship or coming out of that relationship. Wow. You're going to end up grieving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just, and this is going to be the final question, because you just hit the nail on the head with this one, talking about the grief. And that's something I help the clients with, is to get over their ex.
Yes.
What advice would you give somebody to get over their ex? Like, what would you tell them to do?
I would say, spend time with yourself. Spend time.
Yeah, that's like,
spend time indulging yourself and finding the pieces of yourself that you gave away to be in that relationship. You know, I participated in one of your workshops.
Yeah.
So at some point last year, and one thing I think I was sharing, or maybe meant to share, was that I realized with my last breakup that there was like a common thread in like the type of people that I've dated. And I'm like, you know what? I thought I was over that, but I'm not. And I was like, oh, I have got to look within myself and find out what it is that is drawing that type of person that is not going to prioritize me, you know? And what I discovered was, like I said, I was not prioritizing me, and that I was too quick to give away, or, you know, i.e. let go of or set to the side, put on the back burner, things that I had going on, things that I had been prioritizing for myself in my single life, right? If I had some project I was working on, something that was important to me, or even just some routine that I do every Sunday, you know, say I wash my hair and paint my toenails and read a book and relax or do whatever. And as soon as I get involved with someone else, now all of a sudden my Sunday, now I'm watching football with you. I'm not even into football. You know, I don't even like and understand football. And now I'm in
switching up your whole routine.
I'm at a sports bar eating something I don't even need to eat to entertain myself because I'm, you know, watching football. And that's because that's what you like. You see what I'm saying? But I could have used that same time to be at home doing my routine that I always do.
That's
true.
You see what I'm saying? So true.
Or working on whatever project that was so important to me before I got involved. But so many of us do that. It's like, yes, we really want to have love in our life, and that's a priority. It's a long-term goal, yes. But it should not require you to give away certain pieces of yourself. And it's like, as soon as we see that, oh, here's my chance to have love and have find my person, then you just
give it all away.
Give it all away.
Yeah. And it doesn't work.
No, and it doesn't end up feeling good.
And probably for either party.
For neither party.
Yeah.
Because then that person eventually end up resenting them, and they feel that resentment.
So
right?
Yeah.
So it's like, once, you know, you feel you get that initial dopamine hit, you know, of, you know, the warm and fuzzies and the butterflies and all that, once that starts to fade and the substance of the relationship is built on you having given yourself away, that is not a healthy or happy situation.
No. Well, I thank you again for sharing your story, sharing how I've been able to impact you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I thank you so much for all the work that you've done with me over the years. I appreciate that. It's been life-changing.
Very good.